Alrighty, so hello everybody. My name is Josh Fairfield, and welcome to my video presentation, where today we will be talking about how Western mainstream media works to reinforce cultural stereotypes against minority groups. Racial and cultural stereotypes are all over mainstream media. From the news that we watch to the entertainment we consume, there are plenty of examples wherein minority groups are being negatively stereotyped against. The issue of stereotyping in mainstream media is then compounded upon and weaponized due to how we in the Western world generally negatively view issues such as immigration as well as poverty. It is in this context that this way of promoting cultural stereotypes through mainstream media works to misrepresent as well as demonize minority groups and their cultures to influence how we in our culture view them. So, this in turn helps to reaffirm ethnocentric views held in the Western world, in which they believe that their culture is objectively superior, or use the terminology more culturally evolved than the others, and this is translated into real world hate. So, a main reason why these stereotypes are portrayed in Western mainstream media is most likely due to our own cultural biases. For example, we in the West are a primarily individualistic culture with a low context communication style. This, when compared to the majority of immigrants who come to Canada, such as Arab, Asian, and Latin immigrants, contrasts greatly, which then later creates further challenges when people from these cultures try to immigrate. And it is due to these challenges that these groups often become marginalized within their own communities and have become easy targets of mainstream media. So, a recent and very prominent example of this would be mainstream media's portrayal of the Haitians eating catch story, in which false racially motivated claims against Haitian immigrants became the number one talking point in America. And throughout this coverage, you would see prominent media figures continuously going on their broadcasts to negatively portray, misrepresent, and demonize Haitian culture with the purpose of spreading fear over immigration as well as racial divide in America. So, to highlight how these stereotypes in mainstream media influence how we view other cultures, I interviewed two of my friends about their experiences with this. I had each of them create two separate drawings, the first being how they've seen their culture represented in mainstream media, and the second drawing was their own representation. So they drew how they see their culture based on their own lived experiences. So, with that said, let's get right into the first interview. Alrighty, hello everyone, and hello to you. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to be able to come do this little kind of experiment thing. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to the people at home, that'd be great.
Hello, my name is Kimmy. I'm 25 years old, and my parents are from Iran, but I was born here in Canada.
Awesome, Kimmy. Thanks for that brief little introduction. So, obviously, what I had you just do is draw two images. We'll talk about this first one here, which is how you feel that your culture has been represented in mainstream media. Obviously, just by looking at it, you can kind of see a gender power balance here going on with the man with the large head. If you wouldn't mind just kind of going into detail about some of the stuff that you added on to this and kind of maybe where you've kind of heard these things as well.
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to draw like this kind of like old guy with a beard and hairy brows and just staring at like the person looking at the drawing, kind of to intimidate them.
Okay.
And like wearing a head covering, and like how Iran is very much still in their like religious power and like very much like dictatorship, and like the women are just sad and oppressed, and they are like riding donkeys, and they don't have the technology, or just very much behind. It's also why like I drew the Iran with backwards R, kind of like uneducated, and like like from back in the day, they're like thinking like savages or something. Like they don't even know how to write properly, you know? That's how I feel like maybe they depicted in Western media.
No, yeah, I've definitely seen depictions of people from the Middle East depicted like this before. So, no, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, thank you for that. In that case, then we'll just move on to your second image, which just by looking at it already looks quite joyful compared to that first one. Obviously, this is the drawing that you did to represent how you see your culture represented through your own lived experiences. Definitely looks quite fun. I'd love to hear kind of what you have to say about it.
Well, growing up in Canada, but having like Persian family and Persian friends, like we would have a lot of like parties and like dance and like have fun, like gossip, like do all the little like like things that are just like human, you know. So yeah, like I kind of tried to make like sparkly dresses in the picture because we care a lot about our appearance as well. Like I always go to these parties and people are dressed up like head to toe in like makeup and jewels and everything.
A lot of dancing, I'm assuming, as well included.
A lot of dancing, yeah, I love dancing, and yeah, like just a good time.
No, yeah, definitely. I guess kind of a follow-up question would be is that obviously you mentioned that your parents are the ones who immigrated here and you were born here. So I guess one of my questions to you is that living in a Persian household, how is that kind of, have you had any kind of culture clashes from living in a Persian household and then going out into a more Canadian culture?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, when you're trying to like bond with someone or just kind of get on their like good side, you like taught off with them, which is meaning like kind of what is it? Sorry, let me think.
Yeah, no worries.
Which is just like a way to like offer like either like a gift or like offer to like do something for them, but like really like push it. So in some time in my life, when I wanted to like be make friends with someone, I would maybe like bring like little treats, little like, you know, little like drawings or something like this is for you, like and then like, or like take this cookie, like this is for you. And then back in our culture, people like would be, oh no, like you shouldn't do that, like that's okay. But like in Canadian culture, people are like, okay, I'll just take it, whatever. And sometimes it feels like maybe as a kid I feel like, oh, why are they not doing what I want them to do? It's like kind of going back and forth.
No, yeah,
you don't know. Like,
no, I can definitely see that as a way of like kind of a clash, especially kind of just communicating with people outside of maybe your immediate culture, especially when you were younger and maybe
it's just an untold like habit from like one culture that they should know. You know.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called. I don't know. Sorry.
No, yeah, no worries. No, yeah, perfect. Well, yeah, I'd like to thank you very much again for taking the time out of your day to do this. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and have a great rest of your day.
You too.
So, hello there, welcome. Thank you for spending the time to sit down with me. Would you mind just introducing yourself to the people watching at home?
Hi, my name is Andy. I'm 26 years old. I am an immigrant who moved here from Ecuador when I was 2 years old with my family. But I am also a Canadian, a proud Canadian.
All right, Andy, so thank you for completing these drawings. The first one we're kind of going to be talking about right now is your first one, which is all about kind of how you've seen your culture kind of depicted in mainstream media. It looks like here that you've depicted yourself as an egg with a lot of other nations. Tell me a bit about kind of your choices behind that.
Yeah, for sure. So I depicted myself as an egg because I think eggs signify, like birth, like a chicken or a bird is hatched from an egg. So that kind of represents where, you may come from or anyone comes from, right? So all around me I have all these different Latin American nations with question marks on the end of there, because I find that being someone who's Latin American, unless someone knows you very well, they're constantly asking you or trying to assume where it is you're from, and most of the time they can be wrong, because if you're not really familiar with the tiny little differences between all these different countries, it may be easy to assume that someone's from a particular place. That's why I also wrote on the little butt of the egg that it was made in Ecuador, because that's where I'm from, right? But over time, I feel like you're constantly getting hounded by all these different questions, and it can kind of take a little bit of a toll on you. So that's why I'm a little cracked at the top, because it kind of starts to mess with your whole identity, especially at a young age when people constantly don't really remember where it is that you're from. And I depicted myself on a little like a little golf stake, because it's also like an egg you wouldn't put an egg in a golf course because of the dangers of an egg cracking in a golf course, right? So it's also kind of like I'm in a place that I'm not used to being, and I kind of have to navigate through that carefully, or else you
get hit.
Yeah, exactly. You get hit and takes damage, and there's constantly things being flung towards you as a minority sometimes, and probably not as much in Canadian media, but definitely more in American media. They definitely try and hound in on a general like Latin people or like Mexican people or like one specific type of umbrella term for all kind of Latin American people. So I feel like that is also kind of what I'm trying to get through here, where it's like no one's really sure, but it's all just kind of bundled in together, right?
No, yeah, definitely. No, yeah, thank you for that. All right then, so in terms of this next image, obviously just by looking at it, you can kind of tell that there's a clash between two cultures going on, kind of splitting you apart. Can you go kind of more in depth about that? Or?
Yeah, this one is more of a representation of what my personal experience was like growing up. I came here with my family when I was like very young. I was basically a toddler. So most of my like memories and development was in Canada. So a big part of my identity is Canadian. But at the same time, my parents, raised me in a very Latin household. We spoke Spanish. We celebrated Latin holidays and had Latin traditions. So I feel like growing up, it was always a constant struggle in my mind to really know what my identity was. So on the one hand, I felt very Canadian, but then also, the things their family members might, a lot of my family members back home might say to me when they speak to me is like, oh, your Spanish isn't good, you need to practice more. Like, you're more like gringo than you are Latino and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So as a kid, that really tore me because I really identified with both, but it was hard because I felt like I needed to choose one. Now, obviously, as an adult, I know that my identity is this. That I have both, and that's unique to me, and it is unique to so many other people.
No, yeah, I definitely understand that. I'm sure it was definitely hard. In that case, then, were there any moments in your life growing up in a predominantly Hispanic household where there was kind of cultural differences between what's in your house and what's kind of going on maybe in your friend's house or outside? Do you have any examples of that?
Obviously, like, you kind of start doing things in a more North American way as someone who like grew up here, and that would sometimes clash with your parents culturally. Like, I don't know, some things that could be seen as being normal here could be considered like bad manners in a Latin culture, or could be considered like in bad taste. So I think it was also an adjustment of my parents as they also, learned what life was like in North America, to kind of adjust to the way I grew up. Because, like, obviously I grew up with a lot of the customs of a North American Canadian person, where sometimes that would clash with, like, my parents' ideals of what is, like, normal, or how to handle certain situations. So I feel like that would be an example of that.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. Oh, yeah, perfect. Well, thank you for your time, Andy. It was a pleasure interviewing you, buddy.
It's a pleasure. Anytime, John.
Okay, so to end off this presentation, I just wanted to talk about some strategies that you and I can use to help combat the effects of seeing these stereotypes in mainstream media. Something we can do from an individual standpoint is to just simply increase our understanding of media literacy. And this would help us become more immune to the cultural stereotypes being normalized as well as shown to us on a daily basis. However, in terms of how mainstream media can improve this, I would say that an easy way to avoid going over these types of cultural stereotypes against minorities would be to include more diverse voices on their platform who are able to provide more context as well as an understanding when discussing minority cultures within Western media itself. And on that note, that concludes my video presentation. I hope you guys all enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. See ya.